Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayapataka Swami Maharaj.
The following is a lecture given by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami on December 15, 1982 in Honolulu, Hawaii. The class begins with a reading from the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 1, verse 41.
Translation by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. O gentle one, I simply lament for him, Dhritarashtra, who rebelled against his brother after death. By him I was driven out of my house, although I am his sincere well-wisher. He did this by accepting the line of action adopted by his own sons. Translation with repetition. O gentle one,
O gentle one,
I simply lament for him,
Dhritarashtra,
who rebelled against his brother after death. By him I was driven out of my own house, although I am his sincere well-wisher. He did this by accepting the line of action adopted by his own sons. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Vidura did not ask about the welfare of his elder brother because there was no chance of his well-being. Only news of his gliding down to hell. Vidura was a sincere well-wisher for Dhritarashtra, and he had thought about him in the corner of his heart. He lamented that Dhritarashtra could rebel against the sons of his dead brother Pandu, and that he could drive him, Vidura, out of his own house, on the dictation of his crooked sons. In spite of these actions, Vidura never became an enemy of Dhritarashtra, but continued to be his well-wisher. And at the last stage of Dhritarashtra's life, it was he only who proved to be his real friend. Such is the behavior of a Vaishnava like Vidura. He desires all good, even for his enemies. Thus in the purport of text 41, chapter 1, canto 3 of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam in the matter of questions by Vidura. So, here we see the quality of a devotee. Often we wonder that what it means to be well-wisher, or how a devotee can even be a well-wisher to an enemy. That when a person is an enemy, naturally he wants to hurt his enemy, wants to create some kind of misfortune for that person. But a devotee does not desire, even for his enemy particularly, that there should be any misfortune, but would rather see that even the enemy may be benedicted by becoming Krishna conscious. That even the enemy, so-called enemy, the person who thinks that he's enemy of the devotee, may somehow or another stop his envious position. You see, in material life, we find that even Indra and great demigods, when they're praying for protection from the demons, of course, they would just as soon see the demons completely destroyed. But the mood of Lord Chaitanya's devotees is that even the demons they like to see become devotees. You Even Krishna himself, when the demons would come, if they showed a little bit of, even the demons he would give liberation. And if they showed little service attitude, like offering a poisoned breast for sucking, or any little service, then, even then Krishna would somehow deliver that person and give them devotional service. So we can understand how merciful Krishna is and how merciful the devotees are. That, of course, it's that even in great sages and great souls, they like to see, they don't lament, they're actually relieved when they see a snake or a scorpion killed. So, it's not out of context, of course, a very envious person is destroyed by the material nature. Or the devotee won't lament for that, because that will clear the way for spreading of God consciousness. But even then, if the alternative is given, the devotee's motive is not being driven by some tamasic desire to destroy someone, but is actually ultimately being driven by an overall desire for having people uplifted in Krishna consciousness, including even the inimical people. If there was a choice of destroying the person or making him a devotee, obviously the devotee would always choose to let the person be actually purified. And this is something which is different than ordinary consciousness. Ordinary consciousness, when there's an enemy, you just want to see him destroyed. You don't care about helping them. So, in the Sankirtan movement, that mood of compassion is something which is specifically one of the qualities of Lord Chaitanya. It's called Adhurya. Jagannath, Subhadra, Balaram, they're worshipped in the mood of Aishwarya. They're worshipped with opulence, like Krishna and Dwarka. And Radha Krishna are worshipped in the mood of Madhurya. Madhurya means the conjugal love, the very sweet transcendental relationship of pure love. That is the particular mood that they're worshipped with. And Lord Chaitanya, he is known as the Adhurya Vigraha. In the songs by Narottam Das Thakur, when Prabhupada sang one song where the mercy of Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya would describe that they are Bhuridha. So Bhuridha, what is the meaning of that? Da or Data means a great benefactor, one who is giving out benediction. So Bhuridha means just like a free house, just like open house type of Bhuridha, just unlimited giving mood. Just like what in America they had the one movie show, television show, I don't know if they still have it, The Millionaire or something like that. Some guy would just give people, walk up and hand a guy a check, here's $1 million, and then watch and see what the person did with it. So, that is a mood that's there in human consciousness, the idea of, well, give someone some very big donation, give someone some help, be very generous. Just like Prabhupada gave the example that some very generous rich person, just like a rain cloud, just profusely gives the charity everywhere. But Lord Chaitanya's mood is like that, Bhurida. Nitai Gaura's mood is simply giving out the mercy. That is meaning of Adhurya. That simply compassion, simply mercy. Even a person has no possibility for becoming Krishna consciousness without the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, that person can get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and can be delivered. So this mood, in fact, even when Lord Nityananda, when he was attacked by Madhai and Jagai Madhai, at that time, Lord Chaitanya became so impatient. He was calling out Sudarshan Chakra, the Sudarshan was coming down. It was just ready to strike and kill the two brothers for their offense to Lord Nityananda. And then Lord Nityananda stopped Lord Chaitanya. What are you doing? Have you forgotten? This is not your mood now. You promised that you're not going to take up any weapon in this Kali Yuga. You're supposed to simply give out mercy. He said, I can't control when my devotee is being attacked. Then that goes over all other promises. But Nityananda was pleading that, no, this Kali Yuga, if you hit these two, you're going to have to get everyone. They're just symptomatic of so many people. So finally, Jagai Madai, they came to their senses and paid their obeisances. They begged for forgiveness, that please forgive us. And Lord Chaitanya said, I'll pardon you if you promise not to commit sinful actions again. You see. So, even though they were so sinful, because they promised not to commit, again, once he gave them shelter, they wouldn't again do the same things. Then they were completely pardoned and forgiven. You see. Of course, even after some time, Lord Nityananda was approached by Madhai, where he said that, my Lord, you pardoned me, you've given me your mercy, but I'm haunted by the idea that with my hand I have struck you and I have caused you to bleed, and I'm just obsessed with this idea that I've committed this offense to you. How can I actually be forgiven? Even though you pardoned me officially, still I'm always thinking that I'm so rotten, I'm so fallen, I'm so envious that I could have done such a thing. And then Nityananda, he picked him up, you see, gave him the shelter of his lotus feet. He said that I never took any offense, because I took dislike, you're my child. If a baby hits the father, does the father take any offense? No. So I'm taking like that, you're my baby, you're my child. So what offense can you do to me? You didn't do any offense. Out of foolishness you did that. So in this way, Madhai couldn't get any. Nityananda didn't accept any offense. That was his mood, that they're all my children, alright, they do some nonsense. He won't take any offense. So then Madhai said, alright, but I committed so many offenses to so many other living entities. I did so much sinful activity that how will I be forgiven from all those offenses? I was so envious to every living entity, dogs, cats, humans, men, women, children. Who wasn't I? I was torturing and persecuting, and I was committing so many sinful activities over so many of those people. How will I be forgiven for my offenses against all living entities? So then Nityananda, he considered that. So then he told him that you can construct a bathing ghat with your own hands, and the Ganges. And that way so many people, living entities, so many people will be able to go and take baths. And because of that, they'll be coming forgiven for their sinful reactions by bathing in the Ganges. By your building the ghat, it will be instrumental to that. So in this way you'll be forgiven for your sinful reactions, for your offenses to the other living entities. So Madhai, of course, he could have had other people help, but then Madhai was so enthusiastic that himself he took the digging implements and everything, and he cut out the ghat, and he personally laid all the stones and everything, and he built a beautiful bathing ghat. Ghat is like stairways and bathing, steps, ghat. Now what would you call it in English? Bathing. On the side of the river, you build stairways down, and it's called the ghat. And you're building stairways right into the water. Because if you go, ordinarily you go on the riverside, you get your foot stuck in the mud, and then you go and take a shower bath, and you come out, and then again you got to step in the mud, and then you get all dirty again. So then they build the stairways right into the water. So that way, when it's very convenient for taking a bath. Otherwise, it's difficult. On the side of the river. So it goes right down deep into the water. So Madai personally built it, constructed it, and then had great devotees inaugurate it. And so it became famous as Madhai Ghat. It was one of the 5 principal ghats in Navadvip. Borokona Ghat, Mahaprabhu Ghat, Madhai Ghat. I forget the other last 2. But there are 5 principal ghats, and Madhai Ghat was one of the main ghats. So, in this way, then Madai was given a complete forgiveness for even the offenses he had committed to other living entities. So Prabhupada is so kind because in this Western world, by just our daily life, we can't help but commit so many offenses to other living entities. So many gohatyas, murdering of cows, so many violences on our own body, violences on other bodies, so many different ways. It describes in Bhagavad Gita that one who causes torture to his body, that person is under the nature of the asuras, of the demons, and is very envious against his own body and his self, and ultimately against Krishna. You see, so here it's natural to actually overwork the body in terms of, for sense gratification, and to take so many drugs and things like that, which actually are partially poisoning the body, and so many different things which are actually just enviousness against their own self and against Krishna. So in so many ways, people in the Western world, especially, and more and more all over the world, are engaging in very envious activities, very offensive activities to other living entities, to Krishna, even to their own self. So how to get forgiven from that, how to get completely purified, you see, by working for the welfare of others. Just like Madhai Prabhu, who became Sri Madhav Das Brahmachari afterwards, he worked for the welfare of others. He built a bathing ghat. He built a facility whereby they could become purified. So by distributing transcendental literature, by preaching Harinam Sankirtan, how many people are given an opportunity to bathe in the nectar of Lord Chaitanya's holy name, to bathe in the nectar of Srila Prabhupada's nectarian ambrosial words, in the words of the Bhāgavatam, you see. So, we call it the mercy of Guru is samsara davanalita loka, just like the rain clouds are showering over the forest fire, putting them out. So by distributing the transcendental literatures, by doing Harinam Sankirtan, the unlimited benefit is being done to so many living entities. So in this way, it's very easy for one to advance in Krishna consciousness because one quickly gets forgiven. Not only for all sinful reactions, but even for subtle offenses that we've committed against other living entities, against Krishna, against various personalities. These offenses may be stumbling blocks in the long run. For getting moksha, of course, if one is free from sin, it may be enough. But the danger of offenses is one can be reduced from pure Krishna bhakti down to the impersonal conception of life. So one has to avoid offenses. Just as we mentioned today, the 10 offenses to the holy name. Not that, one gets proud because he's preaching and then feels I can offend other devotees. Of course, that would be another kind of distortion. But in that mood of giving out the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, everything is within it, it's already perfect. That simultaneously one is becoming purified, one is becoming cleansed, and it just opens the gateway to getting pure love for Godhead. It is a complete process, you see, simultaneously containing everything. So, here we see that Dhritarashtra, you see, because of his offenses, we know that later on he wasn't able to take up devotional service. Instead, Vidura gave him the next best thing he could give. He gave him yoga meditation. So by doing yoga meditation, at least he could become liberated. You see, because he had committed so many offenses against the devotees, against Krishna, that how could he, after that, render devotional service? You see, it wasn't possible. Of course, we see that like Jagai Madai, they had committed so many offenses, but Lord Chaitanya's mercy was such that they could be engaged in devotional service. You see. And that way, even Yamaraj, he was completely astonished. You see, Vidura, of course, is Yamaraj. And even he couldn't give devotional service to his own brother because he had committed offenses. Because in that yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Krishna wasn't so kind to forgive offenses to that extent. You see, but Lord Chaitanya is even more merciful than Lord Krishna. Namo Mahavadannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvishe Namo Namah. So, he's even more merciful than Krishna. He's giving out that mercy. In spite of offenses, he even gives out the mercy, even forgives one for offenses. Even the people that chant Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam, Hare Krishna Hare Ram, and so many other concocted mantras, because somehow they're chanting Lord Chaitanya's name, even they're feeling some transcendental happiness from it, you see. But unfortunately, they're confusing people about the philosophy, so in that sense, that will take them some time to completely become purified. But even then, while they're chanting, they can feel something, no doubt. That is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. It doesn't take offense. Lord Chaitanya doesn't take offense very easily. So, here we see that when Jagai Madhai were forgiven, recently just in Bangladesh they showed one drama. And there they had Chitragupta. He was taking the calculator. You know Chitragupta. He's the person that, he's the accountant for Yamaraj. He's the chief accountant, auditor. So like when Yamaraj, when someone comes up for the judgment, then he asks for the account. You see. So then Chitragupta's got so many, brains working for him that are keeping track of everybody's karma. They got it all recorded in the ether, in their own way. So that way, Yamaraj and other demigods, they had gone in disguise, in hiding, and they had observed. Actually, I believe that they had gone in disguise, just we call it Gupta Vash. That means that they were invisible, and they went and they were watching all these pastimes. So, when Yamaraj, he was seeing these pastimes, he came and he was asking Chitragupta, for the latest news and everything, and then Chitragupta explained how Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda had just delivered Jagai Madai and had completely cleaned the slate. And so, when Yamaraj asked that how many sins, reactions had they accumulated, so then Chitragupta was explaining that they had accumulated so much that if he had to put it into writing, it would take, so many thousands of clerks, so many yugas to write it. And that it would, be piled up, it would take, to put it on paper, it would take so much that they had accumulated so many sinful reactions. They were just day by day, everything they were doing was just some sinful, envious thing. And as he was explaining this, actually Jamaraj, he became so absorbed in the mood of Lord Chaitanya Nityananda, how so they were so merciful that he became stunned, because he's a pure devotee, and he just fell unconscious in trance. So Chitragupta and the others, they thought that he was just like so shocked that such a sinful person had just been forgiven, that he had fallen, unconscious due to shock. So they're trying to, fan him and, put a little cold compress on his head, whatever, trying to get him to come, but he wouldn't come because he was actually in samadhi. So then, in the meantime, Lord Shiva and other demigods who had been down there and watched the whole Leela from their invisible vantage point, they were also just completely astonished by the mercy of Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. So they thought that on the way they're just going to stop to see Jamaraj. And then they saw that Yamaraj was unconscious. They're trying to and they said, what happened? They said, well, we told him about Jagai Madai's deliverance, and he fainted. So he must be in shock because they got so just like they were prime candidates, whatever. And that was their view. But then immediately Lord Shiva could understand that he's not in shock. He's in ecstasy. He's in complete samadhi. So he got everybody. Already, that's the only way you'll get him to come up is you got to chant Lord Chaitanya's name. Chant Jai Gauranga, Jai Nityananda. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. They got the whole Yamaraj crew to start chanting the holy name. And then Yamaraj came, and then Lord Shiva and Yamaraj and the demigods, they all started a big Harinam Sankirtan, and they were chanting, glorifying Lord Chaitanya Nityananda's transcendental mercy. In this way, Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement spread over the whole universe. And that way, our Bhakti Vinod Thakur sang that song, Narada Muni Vijaya Vina, and which also portrays that when Panchamukhi Shiva and Chakramukhi Brahma and everyone is just engaged in Harinam Sankirtan. So this is a great opportunity that even the demigods are completely overwhelmed by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. They are just filled with transcendental ecstasy. They're filled with transcendental appreciation. And how great is the opportunity, is the fortune that somehow or another we have been able to take up this devotional service and to take up the chanting of the holy name. And moreover, to take up distributing that mercy to others. Just like Lord Chaitanya in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he said, I'm the tree and I'm the gardener. So I've made all these flowers, all these fruits. How many can I eat? And how many can I give away? So everyone, you should come, eat to your heart's content. You see, eat up to your capacity and then give out. You see, all these fruits to the others. So here's the most wonderful example. We just come, person eats. Just like Lord Chaitanya used to always feed first his devotees first. Then he'd have all the devotees distribute prasad to all the public. Of course, we tried that sometimes, and then sometimes the devotees eat so much they can't distribute anymore. I know that's something. I think that you can't eat more than your capacity. Of course, their devotees were conscientious enough to eat their capacity and then be able to distribute to the others. At least in Harinam, you can't OD like that. In Prashad, sometimes there's that problem that one can eat more than the capacity. But That's the mood that devotee takes, fills himself up by reading profusely, by chanting enthusiastically, by serving, becomes filled with spiritual assets, and then he goes and simply gives it out. And then he becomes a transparent medium, whereby even more mercy is being rained down upon that devotee. And the gateway for spiritual advancement just becomes so much more enhanced. The whole enthusiasm, the whole momentum is increased more and more. So this is a great opportunity, especially today. Understand it's the beginning of the marathon in full gear. Of course, marathon was going on in one of the gears anyway. But now in the last 10 days, there's the final sprint, where one is putting out all the energy. This is a good opportunity. Krishna said, Jayapataka mang prapadyante tang sataiva bhajamyaham. As you surrender unto me, so I will reciprocate with you. So, to be able to focus intensely all of our energy for preaching Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, for giving out mercy, that is just one great opportunity to completely absorb ourselves in a very intense mood of giving our energy to Lord Chaitanya. And naturally he reciprocates millions and millions of times more effectively than even we are able to offer to him. But in this way, it's a good opportunity for us to actually concentrate our energy in a most intense way, at a time when, of course, in most of the places, we also get a little more reciprocation even from the materialists. I don't know, someone was saying that, well, Hawaii, there's not that much of a mood. Of course, I think there's a little more than, say, in Thailand or India, where they Christmas not even on the calendar, much, hardly. But generally speaking, people are a little bit more in the mood of reciprocation, of giving. So it's a good opportunity to engage that in the service of Krishna. Every person that we can engage, when they're in a little more receptive mood, that means one more soul that's brought in the orbit of Krishna. Just like there are some meteors, some comets, which only come around the earth, near the earth or near the sun after so many thousands of years, and they go out again. But still they're within the orbit. Now these ordinary souls that never rendered any devotional service to Krishna, they're not even in the orbit. You see. Even if they get one service, now they're in the orbit. And so sometime in their life, they'll again be brought back to Krishna. And then each time that they get that opportunity to do a little more service, they're brought closer and closer and closer, until finally they get the opportunity to fully surrender. You see. And if you can give them that much of an intense opportunity to serve, then even in this life, how do people come purified? The more you engage them in service, the more you engage them in devotional service and hearing and chanting, naturally they become more and more purified. They become their consciousness becomes uncovered from all the material dirt, and their natural love for Krishna is revealed. Krishna prema nitya siddha sadha kavonai Savanadi Suddha Chitta Koraye Udhoy. That Krishna Prema is not something that you get, like you become Prime Minister, it's not something you have to work for in terms of achieving something. It's already there, Nitya Siddha. It's something which is within us. It's not that something we have to bring from outside. It's there, but it's covered up. So how? We simply have to uncover it. It's like the treasure is there, but it's hidden. Now you have to dig it out. You have to uncover it. It's piles of karma, offenses, different kind of dirt have covered up that pure consciousness. But by hearing and chanting, so devotees are, by hearing and chanting, by pure consciousness, that Krishna Prema that love for Krishna, the desire to serve Krishna is revealed. And so the first step is when they engage in some service to Krishna. Any service to Krishna, you see, even unknowingly, will give them that benefit. I think I mentioned to you that story in South India about the deity that was going to the wedding of Durga, Meenakshi Devi. There's one incarnation of Lord Parvati, where she was some kind of a king was doing puja and asked to have a son, and instead got Meenakshi, who was like she was a daughter, but she got the benediction that until she sees her husband, she won't manifest her womanly qualities. So like everything was suppressed, her, the female breast and all that was kind of repressed and then she would be fighting, and she conquered for this king, defeated all the enemies and protected the whole Vedic culture at that time, until she saw Lord Shiva. She went up to Kailash or something, and somehow she saw Shiva, and then she became Meenakshi Devi. So then she could no longer fight anymore. At that time, then she wanted to, so they arranged the wedding and everything, and Lord Vishnu personally married Shiva and Meenakshi. And there's temples there in South India commemorating that. I don't know how they got to be deities again, but there's they're very important temples for all the Vaishnavas, Shivites, Shaktas, everyone. So there's one deity of a temple they ask us to manage. It's a little complicated, so I don't know if we're going to actually take up their offer because there's a lot of government restrictions and everything. But this deity, even today, every year, since thousands and thousands of years, is taken in procession to officially do the wedding, or at least be present during the wedding while the deities are married. So these pujaris have told us that one of the pastimes of this deity was that some thousands of years ago, when the deity was coming back from the wedding, Dacoit attacked the whole party. And the Dacoit, he completely was absorbed that he didn't see the deity was not a deity, he just took the deity was a person. So immediately came up and said, "All right, stop, I'm a Dacoit, I'm a robber, I want all your jewels. Give me your jewels." He just started talking to the deity. So the deity completely reciprocated. He says, "No, well," he started speaking because he's talking to him. So then he reciprocated. He said, "Well, why, I'm just come back from a wedding. You don't want to attack a wedding party. I mean, you don't want to steal. I'm just coming. It's a sacred thing. It's a wedding. These are wedding, paraphernalia. You don't want to steal someone coming from a wedding, do you?" And the Dacoit thought for a few minutes and said, "No, I don't have any such restriction." There's no such. No. Are you going to fight or are you going to give me your jewels? You just tell me. She says, "No, okay, we won't fight. You can take the jewels." So then the thief, he said, "All right, I put faith in you." You see, took the person was so all right, he's not going to fight. It's all right. So then to get his bag and everything ready, he said, "All right, hold my spear for me." He handed him his spear, and then he was going to got his bag. As soon as he handed the spear to the deity, he had given something to Krishna. It was a devotional service. Even, just to hold it for a second. Give it something. From there, A point B, he went to Krishna. But as soon as he gave something to Krishna, immediately by that devotional service, he realized that who Krishna was. That this deity that was Krishna, was a deity of Krishna, and he was speaking to the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in deity. And then suddenly everything, just by that little service, and then he immediately at that point surrendered, because all those realizations, just by the slightest devotional service, and he became a great devotee. So we can't understand that even a person, a little devotional service, even all right, just sometimes people say, just wad up a bucket, any doesn't matter. It's not like Prabhupada gave a story about one brahmachari used to go to everybody trying to beg for Krishna, and no one give anything. So finally, one householder was there. The wife came out and said, "Well, we don't have anything." He says, "Nobody, the whole day, they don't give nothing, not even a grain of rice, nothing they wouldn't give." So she called in and said to her husband, "Do you have anything?" He said, "Tell him we can give him the ashes from our coal fire." So he said, "Well, we don't have anything but ashes, you see." Then the Brahman said, "Listen, just quit talking about it. Give it, will you please?" Prabhupada, he was laughing when he told that story. "Give the ashes. Stop talking." You got people that, even, I take ashes, He said, "You give anything. You give something that will start your good fortune. Even if they give ashes, at least quit talking about give something. Get in the habit of giving." So that way people are giving to Krishna consciousness because of the devotees, and that's the great opportunity for them. And if while they're giving in this life, if they also don't have that kind of offensive mentality, then even in this life it's easier for them to become Krishna conscious, or for them to render more devotional service. And of course, even if they don't render more devotional service in this life, still it remains with them as a permanent asset. So this is the special mercy of Lord Chaitanya, and here we see that in this verse today that the devotees are always well-wishers, but now we have the special opportunity that we can really see people be delivered by Krishna consciousness. I've heard so many Sankirtan Leelas where even envious people, by taking prasad every day, by associating with devotees, their hearts were changed. And anyway, I don't want to take any more time, but we can just remember the names of the Panchatattva and surrender ourselves to taking up their mood of giving out the transcendental mercy. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Any questions? Yes?
What's the benefit if somebody performs devotional service but doesn't hear a chant? Just do service.
If a person renders devotional service without hearing and chanting, that is basically what karma yoga is. It's doing some service. Of course, karma yoga may be that one's working and giving the fruits of the labor. So if it's doing something which is specifically ordered by the Guru, then of course it comes more under bhakti. The problem without chanting and hearing is that the consciousness doesn't become purified. The power of purification in this Kali Yuga is in the chanting of Hare Krishna. Just like in every age there's a Yuga Dharma. So in general, devotional service is to be performed. But in this age, just like in other ages, meditation was the system, then for sacrifice and temple worship. So this age, the system to purify the consciousness is hearing and chanting, it's Sankirtan. So a person just renders devotional service without hearing and chanting, then the danger is that the person's getting spiritual credit, but the desire to engage in material activities may not be counteracted. That desire, that seed is there in our heart to engage in materialistic activities. And to counteract that, we need the mercy of Nityananda. We need to fill our heart with spiritual happiness. You see, so rendering devotional service is sensitive. He's a little too covered up to be able to fully relish the real benefit of of the service that he's doing at that time. And so the danger is there that the person can become misled again into material activities. It's like when you're some battleship which is fighting but doesn't have its radar, doesn't have the defense system. It's only it's doing something, but it doesn't have any defense. The chanting is both defense as well as offense, both, but it actually protects us and gives us that opportunity, that ability to relish. That gives us the spiritual realization. Well, just the service alone, in this particular age, it's difficult for one to actually be able to experience the transcendental happiness and transcendental realization just by the service. Yes?
What if someone's just chanting Hare Krishna but they're not doing devotional service?
But it just, of course, like one time when Maharaji of Mayapur was telling Prabhupada, I don't want to do any more service, I want to just chant. I want to just chant. And Prabhupada said, just chant. The chanting is not just chanting. The chanting is the topmost of all our activities. Haridas Thakur, he was professed simply by chanting. You see, but says you can just chant. You see, you can simply chant. You can stay here and you sleep 2 to 4 hours a day, and you chant the rest of the whole time, and you eat once a day. He says that's what I made Mayapur Vrindavan for. If anyone wants to, just chant. If he wants to simply chant Hare Krishna, let them come to the Holy Dham. Not that you chant in New York City or somewhere. You chant in the Holy Dham, and you don't eat only once a day, and you reduce your sleep, and you chant the whole time. And then Prabhupada laughs and says, you cannot do it. You will chant for 2 hours, and you will chant for 1 hour, and you go to sleep. Therefore I have given you so much service. You see. You don't think chanting is the most difficult thing. It's the most difficult thing to chant with full consciousness, with full attention, with full enthusiasm, and not to become distracted. It's the most difficult. You see. So, that's like Prabhupada said, that work now, samadhi later. That by doing this preaching, by doing this service, by becoming purified, we get the qualification that we can chant more, that we can read more, that we can concentrate more. It doesn't work the other way. Of course, we always chanting through, but to chant more than 16 rounds a day is in the beginning stages is not that productive as to engage fully 24 hours a day in constant devotional service, and especially in preaching activity. Not only because now there's an emergency situation, just like when the house is on fire, that now preaching is the most essential. It's especially required. That even if a person was capable or is capable of chanting, even then, the one time we were chanting in Calcutta Temple, I remember that we were all chanting 32 rounds, and Tamal Krishna Goswami came and told Prabhupada that Chutananda Maharaj, Jayapataka, this one, that one, they're all chanting 32 rounds. And they brought us in, so you were chanting 32 rounds? Yes. He says that if you sit and chant 32 rounds, then who's going to go out and preach? This is my order, you chant 16 rounds, and then immediately go out and preach. Otherwise, who's going to do the preaching? Even if he could do the chanting, the Prabhupada wasn't very impressed. You see, of course, not that this is a specific, particular advice at that moment. You see, there might be other advices for other people, other situations. But he wanted us to go out and establish Krishna consciousness in India. If we're sitting the whole day chanting japa, then what's going to happen? So, in that sense, Prabhupada, even if a person was capable of chanting, still Prabhupada wanted us as priority to preach. And actually by preaching, what chanting one does do one can actually appreciate more intensely. So this preaching is something very wonderful. It's an actual science. It's a whole science of preaching. That this is a special benediction, a special opportunity for us to make very rapid advancement. And especially in Kali Yuga, there's unlimited opportunities to preach. In Sati Yuga, you won't get that fired up for preaching, but here the Mayas are so obvious that preaching is, and the mercy of Lord Chaitanya is so great that the contrasts are so intense, are so vivid, that you see that here's the greatest mercy, and at the same time here is practically the greatest sinful activities going on. And a person, if he somehow or another can just be brought to chant Hare Krishna, to engage in reading Prabhupada's books and doing some devotional service, and gradually they can come up to that platform. It's a very great opportunity. And then we can actually relish chanting. By our organizing systems, so many others can chant, then we're reaping the benefit also, just like a commission from everyone chanting. So that way it's like those pyramid letters or something like that, chain letters, just like that. You're getting so many transcendental results for every person that engages in devotional service. Hare Krishna, Panchatattva ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Swami Maharaj ki, Srila Jayapataka ki. I know that Srila Rameshwar is completely absorbed in the Sankirtan and Yajna, so he'll be very pleased for more and more the Hawaii New Navadip gets enthused in this marathon.